So, all right, we have Claire Wolfert on the podcast. Claire, who has been in exile for a long time.
Has a bad connotation.
For a year in Britain, and now she's back in Germany, but not in Berlin, but in Munich. So yeah, nice to have you here, Claire. And yeah, we're going to talk a bit about everything in life. We already had a chat about some stuff that you're up to down in Munich. But yeah, let's just start with what made you go to Munich, and I don't know. Are you finished with your degree, or what has happened since last time?
Finished with my degree, thank God. I think that was the priority number one. I finished
your degree in
civil engineering. The end. First class degree. No one knows what that means, but I scraped through, didn't fail, which was a challenge in and of itself to motivate. I always thought I had really good internal motivation, and then like Corona comes and you're sitting at home by yourself, and there are exam papers to be done online with no time cap for like 2 weeks, and then motivation suddenly disappears. So got it done, and then decided I through the time that I had in Berlin when I ended up at Escapist, I was not going to jump directly back into civil engineering, even though that's what my degree is in. So I chose Munich because it was an elimination process of I'm not going to stay in the UK. I'm not going to go back to the shit show that is the US. And I wanted to go, in hindsight, I think I would have been fine going somewhere where I didn't speak the language. That was something I thought, okay, well, my German could use improvement. I'll go back to Germany. And it's easier to move somewhere where I speak the language and have a passport, actually, which helps. But yeah, I thought Hamburg is too near to England, too rainy and cold, and I know people there. I thought Berlin is one of my favorite cities still, but it's too easy because I know people and I know the city, and I needed a new start, somewhere where I would be challenged in both like the admin side of setting up my life and finding a wohnung and that sort of thing, but also just like moving somewhere new in itself where you don't know anyone is another challenge. So why not?
So did Corona stuff affect you a lot? Like you said, you had problems with motivation a bit. Yeah, did that have like a deeper effect on you now in hindsight?
I think it did. I think it had not a negative effect. It definitely had, it had an effect on everyone, I would say, broadly speaking. I think it made me think a lot more because I had more time to myself. And I spending more time like having to be confronted with yourself and like your coping mechanisms and your habits and the things that you took for granted and the things that you were relying on that you maybe don't have access to anymore. And even just the fact of not having a shit ton of things to do. I mean, I still had things to do. I still had a uni degree to finish, but I was lucky enough that it was sort of in the bag, and like I had, up until the point that Corona hit, all of my semester averages were like the top tier of where I was aiming to be. And so at some point in April, the uni said, okay, because of Corona, we're going to say you all need to like finish all of your exams, all of your tests, you need to pass. But if you get lower than, if you get a score that would implicate a lower average than you're currently sitting at, you will maintain the higher average that you had before the whole shit with Corona happened. So in that way, I was lucky because that mental burden was relieved. So it was more of a, I don't have a commute anymore. I have much more time. I have insgesamt less work. I have zero social obligations anymore because the only social obligation is the person I live with. And yeah, that was probably the biggest thing. And I mean, I have to say, I'm super lucky. I didn't know anyone personally who was got Corona or like really negative. I know a couple of people who got it, but like no one who's in hospital who's seriously sick from it. I personally don't think I've had it. My whole house thinks we may have had it before everyone knew what it was, but we'll find out when there's an antibody test.
Yeah.
But yeah, for that, I was really super lucky. I didn't have a job that I lost. Many things to be grateful for there.
Yeah. So when you were here in Berlin, you started to study the precision nutrition thing. When did you finish that?
Finished that? Good question. A year and 2 months ago, maybe 3. I finished just before I left for Switzerland and then the UK. It's like August of whatever calendar year that was, 2019.
Yeah. And did that has that brought you anything forward with the?
Have any of you guys? No, Mark is doing it now. You haven't done it yet, have you?
No, I haven't done it yet.
Okay. No. I think that has the biggest carryover. I mean, the level 1, of course, like I need it to legally be a CrossFit coach, but it's also a lot of fun. You don't say like the stuff I learned compared to the stuff I learned from precision nutrition is night and day. Probably because there's so much more to the movement side. It's like practice, and like you said, reps, and making mistakes, learning from the mistakes, correcting mistakes. But I think the precision nutrition certification really, really opened my eyes to like nutrition coaching in particular is okay. There's some biochemistry there. There's some like, this is what a protein is. This is what a fat is. This is maybe when you should eat in relation to training, but 80% is the head and communication and language and mindset, black and white, on or off, thinking in spectrums, thinking about sustainability and the communication side. So definitely.
Yeah. Have you started to practice that, implement that?
I think that's probably, I didn't expect it to be, but that's this mindset side, whether my clients know it or not. I'd say like with most of my clients, plus or minus, is the majority of what comes into play. When I say like my clients, my online clients. So there's a lot of conversation about like, why are these habits coming up, or why are we defaulting to these patterns, or what does this behavior serve, or what's the reason, basically like what's the reason why, asking why.
Yeah.
And figuring out, maybe the awareness piece is just the first, like figuring out that there is something happening, like identifying, I didn't realize, but I am eating, I don't know, for example, if you're in home office, I'm eating like 5 times a day. Oh, didn't realize, like, why is that? And then digging a little deeper, like, maybe I'm bored. And then how do I feel after I eat that? Oh, what's that language going on inside my head? Is it, oh, that's okay, like, I accept that. I was bored and ate a piece of chocolate. Like, let's move on. Or is it a thing that nags you in your head all day? That's like, I need to go out and like spend an extra 10 minutes at the gym to get rid of that and burn off whatever that's the other thing that like pisses me off is the MyFitnessPal. You've earned this amount of calories today. Like, you can fuck off if you've earned your you've earned your calories, because we're all little hamsters in the MyFitnessPal wheel, burning off our foods.
Yeah. The calorie in, calorie out method that has been proven to be very helpful for no one.
It's like, oh no, calories don't matter. You just eat whatever you want. It's like, well, okay, there's some nuance to this conversation.
Yeah, for sure. Now going from being a, engineer to do fitness, health coaching, what's your plan there? Why are you deserting the fine life of calculating how bridges should be built?
Good question. Sometimes I do look, I'm walking along the street, see a construction site, I'm like, I don't know, there's something there. There's still something there. So like if I'm in 15 Peter, so I don't know, project managing at the Baustelle, like I'm not closing myself off to that.
Yeah.
But I think I'm searching for meaning, for sure.
Yeah.
And
have you looked into anatomy?
Anatomy?
Yeah.
That's my next degree. It's going to be in something to do with anatomy, and then that will be psychology.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I'm searching for something to. I'm trying to figure out this question of what's the point of life, and trying to figure out a way for me that there's something in me that doesn't sit well with a 9 to 5, where I feel like I'm just a cog in the machine. And I feel like I want to make a difference somehow. And obviously, people who work in an office all day are not making a difference. But I think it's the selfishness of my part that I want to feel. I want to feel like I am improving people's lives in like a tangible way that both they feel and that I can feel, and that the A to B of my work and a positive outcome is a shorter distance than if I'm drawing lines on a CAD drawing that, yes, eventually we'll build a building, but do I really see that direct connection? A little bit harder.
Yeah, I mean, this connects a bit to your latest blog post, and that's why I reached out to you. I claim that I might have a good answer to it, or a reply. Sorry, I couldn't hear you there, but yeah, you can. I'm trying to kind of paraphrase you a bit in this, but it seems a bit like you said right now. It's about finding, like, you need to be busy, right? You need to be busy, and if you slow down, it is easy to get trapped in dark places, or anxious places, maybe. And yeah, that you enjoy having something to work against, and you have a hard time if you don't have it. And the problem is then if whatever you're working against is not 100% what you maybe believe in, or whatever it might be. We might look at your studies for this example, that it was a hard time for you to find that motivation for the final sprint, maybe. But yeah, so what is, I mean, this kind of comes down to this existential question of, like, what's the purpose of life? What's the meaning of my life? And so on. And I mean, for some people that can be very, they really need to have this, like, deeper meaning for it, which I can kind of understand. But something I also think is very helpful is this notion of being more mindful. And this means that, like, mindful has become this kind of trend word also. And but I like Sam Harris, who I think is the one who kind of introduced me at all to how this kind of works for him, and also how it has kind of been reflected inside me without me kind of knowing the context of it. But just to have this kind of framework of understanding that mindfulness is about not only being able to meditate and kind of sit there and relax, or whatever you want to call it. No, it's about understanding that you can control your mind and how you're thinking. And as soon as you start to be able to do that, you start to develop this sense of and questions about, like, free will, for example, and how much am I thinking that is actually my own will, or how much is actually just happening. And when you're really, really mindful, you start to understand that there's just a lot of things always coming up, and you can't control it. Like, you can control your response to it, but there's, like, this constant flow of things popping up. So if you try to clear your mind as much as you want, and you sit there, and then you kind of stare, or you might have your eyes closed, and you're like, I'm not thinking about anything. And then when you start to really get mindful, you start to understand you're actually thinking of 10 things at the same time. They're kind of popping up, and you're having a hard time to even just see that, because you're so busy with being of telling yourself a story. And then you realize, oh wait, I'm telling myself a story right now. So it is it kind of, everything connects in that sense. But as soon as you start to get, again, content with the idea that And I guess it's just this kind of mindset of this is nice. Like I'm me by myself or with other people, whatever it might be, this is nice. Like I'm not under threat of death, or I'm not dying. Therefore, it's much better than nothing. So, and so if anything in that scale, you know, you're not, you know, there's no fire underneath your feet. You're not getting scorched. You're not getting, you know, hurt. Then you're kind of already in a good place. So from here on, everything is kind of easy. That you just need to figure out where you want to go, and then it starts to become more of like, you know, okay, doesn't matter in which direction you go. And the answer is, in one sense, like no. In my opinion, is that you need to start moving.
Yeah.
That's the thing. And there's nothing as this is right in that sense, as long as you're not hurting yourself or hurting someone else. But yeah, then to get more into this kind of what's the meaning of life is, this is kind of the biggest thing I would say that differentiates people that have kids or not, is that as soon as you have your own kids, there's nothing in comparison to that. And there's nothing I have done in my life that is better, and probably will never be. So not to take that away from like people that never have had kids or will never have. If you look at statistics, people that don't have kids are happier. Which I think is, yeah, makes sense in one sense, that having a huge amount of responsibility for some other people's lives takes a toll. Like it literally sucks the energy out of you. It literally drains you of everything. So that is part of life. And if you look at the extremes like insects and whatever, where they actually eat up their mother or whatever, this is,
luckily we're not. Not quite there.
yeah. But so I think from pure, I don't see this too often, so this is kind of why I share it, is that when you feel like you're, when you feel like everything is empty, when you feel like doesn't matter how often I go to the gym, it doesn't matter how, if I go to that party, or, you know, for the 100th time I go to the whatever concert and so on, and you don't feel content by that, I think it's because it's time to like move on, to take a bigger responsibility. And this is my learning for myself, is that it was time to move on, like time to move on to something else and take more responsibility. And in my case, also getting more responsibility to towards something or someone else, in like this ultimate position of care or whatever responsibility. It is also a second growth phase in yourself. So I'm not sure that like the box would have happened without that, for example. So I guess that is kind of somewhere deep inside there. The point is there are phases where we need to go through, and maybe like you don't want to jump these phases either. I guess this is also, well, it's not super controversial, but one thing I think, this is my personal opinion, I think, I don't know if I've talked to you about that before, but is that how many women are raised up in like in our Western society, I would say, with this enormous pressure of being successful in school and like engineering, or having a career, and it takes a lot of time to do that, right? So you need to like put in your energy to do it, and then you have to make a career and so on, and then at some point these women, they get kids, and they are like in this crossroad of like, what should I actually do? What's my responsibility here? And that also leads them to, again, they put pressure on themselves. They have to be super moms, but also have a career. And I think why this is particularly hard for women is because women are basically just much more connected to the kids' first developing years. It's like, and I think there are a lot of women that are they are doing their best to try to be this stereotype of a successful woman, where you have a kid and a career, and everything is just great and super. But my hypothesis is that, and I know I share this a lot, is that especially when the kids are small, the more you put in to that bank vault of the kids' emotions and everything, the better it will grow at the end. Like the interest rate is like enormous, and also the parents and so on, they get more, I would say, fulfilled by having that no doubt that I did the right thing for this other person.
Yeah.
But again, with the social pressure of being both, I think it's super hard. So a lot of women they try with the career, and they try to hide themselves inside it, but they're feeling miserable because they're not doing maybe the thing that would have been much more important for them, like in emotionally for them. And then they I mean, you end up with all kind of problems, but and for men it's kind of the same too, I guess, but there is I would say, I guess the social pressure is also changing in that sense, but there's more of a social acceptance, I guess, for I don't know. It simply is unsuccessful men don't get kids, basically. So it's
I think that's much more on your mind because of the point in your life you're at right now.
For sure.
Yeah. So I can imagine having a baby. And I think it's interesting that you say that also for me to reflect, because I was always so grateful that my mom was like a stay-at-home mom. Like she was my mom for 18 years, and she still is my mom. But like my brother and I both had her, like she was full time, like taking care of us for 20 years, because 21 years, because of the age difference. And like I think as a younger kid, I just didn't like, it didn't click in my head like, oh, like there's a difference between like what my mom does and like what a lot of other moms do. Like it just didn't register why other kids were always having like nannies and babysitters and doing a billion after school activities and always busy with something. And it didn't hit until I was maybe in like middle school that, oh, like I'm really lucky. And I think there's a lot that I still don't know. I'll never know what would have been if she would have been working part-time or full-time while I was growing up. But I I definitely think it made a big influence on me as a person, and just like the stress, I guess the stress that you have as a kid and the freedoms that you're allowed to have, and the freedoms in being yourself and like finding yourself and getting to grow as a person within the context of your family, because if you never really see your parents, like a lot of people don't have a choice because of financial situations that both parents have to work a lot of the time. But yeah, I definitely am grateful for like the way that I was able to be brought up.
Yeah. So also to make that clear too is that I don't think this is the case for like everyone. So I'm just saying. So it can be totally possible that like a mom or dad, whatever, that their biggest drive in their life is actually to clean the toilets at a hotel. I don't know. That might be like much more in line with what they actually want to do, and they don't want to have anything to do with raising their kids. And in one sense, that's fine. Is that and we like I don't put any judgment on it. If somebody or I get like cleaning toilets is a bad example, but we say having a very successful company and this is very fulfilling, or you're president of the country, or and this is much more the thing that drives you and so on, and you're fine with you not being the role model. You're not you're okay with not being I don't know. You're okay with the feeling that the kids will not love you. The kids will not look up to you. They will not learn from you, and they might end up, however they might end up.
Feeling like
Yeah.
they know you.
Yeah, and this is common. Like they're common too. So, but I don't put any like big judgment on it. It's just you need to figure out whatever, but don't be like, if you feel, or if anyone feels like they are halfway, or they're not happy or content at that stage of the life. I'm just saying maybe the values are simply a bit off, and especially just, who am I doing this for? Is it for social pressure, or is it because of my own pressure? And one thing I also wanted to fill out on was this. So regarding now with the Corona thing happening and so on, I think one thing that might have to or will change, I don't know, is that it has been this like the last couple of generations that we have more and more like more and more people coming into the work market that are more like, I'm going to do a bit like I want to feel fulfilled, and I want to feel like I belong to this, or I have a meaning with my work, and I'm not going to work full time because I need to do like my own finding myself and travel, whatever it might be. And I think this is a symptom of luxury. Like, it's luxury. We can do this because we have, I have roof over my head, and I know I'm always going to have food on my table, like on my dinner table.
Even though sometimes I do really long fasts by accident. I saw that on Instagram.
Sorry?
You did an extra long fast by accident, didn't you, on Instagram? I saw the other day. You did like, what was it, 18 hours, and then all of a sudden it's like 25 hours.
Yeah. Yeah. And but that was more to be prepared for a big buffet. And but what I wanted to come down to was that if you know that there's always going to be food on your table and so on, you're not going to be as anxious that, you know, I might lose my job, I might do this, because there's always someone there to back me up, right? And so it's a lot of security built into the system. Now, I kind of like this, the idea of, again, getting reps on whatever you're doing. If it's, whatever you're learning, whatever you're doing, like, you have to do the boring shit and do, like Gary Vee phrases it, like, you have to learn to eat shit, and and you eat shit for 15 years or whatever, and then you might get a bit better. I think that might become more relevant now after Corona and during Corona. They say it's going to be like a 4 weeks lockdown now. In Berlin at least, and I anticipate that this will be maybe 8 weeks. Maybe it's going to be until March. Who knows? So, and I pointed this out, like in the last lockdown, is that this is not the time where you put your feet up high and watch Netflix. This is the time where you have to work harder and so on. Right now, like, there are still jobs and so on, but soon there will, or it's already starting to be like this, but there's a lot of jobs that are going to disappear, and it's going to be more of a fight to survive kind of thing happening. And I think the more you're preparing now, putting in reps, becoming really good and clever in whatever field you're doing it in, it's going to serve you well as this moves on. So,
Yeah, I think you make a really good point with, it's a luxury now of what we are able to be anxious about. The majority of us, or who listen to the podcast in that case. And I think what also I realized in the last weeks is I always had something that was like pretty fucking hard, that I was somehow, like mangling with. Like, degree was not easy at all. I had, a couple of years there where that was tough. Like, that was hard. Coming to Berlin and starting a new job, and then quitting that job and coming and working at Escapist, and like, that was also hard. That was a challenge, and I was kind of constantly on my toes. And I think once I moved, and then Corona came, and I was like, okay, we've got another challenge here. We've got another thing to keep us on our toes. And I think I was like, okay, you know what? Lockdown is kind of over in England. I need to move somewhere. I'll move somewhere where I don't know anyone, where I have to find a job, whatever. That'll be a good challenge. And then move. I got super lucky with finding a wohnung relatively soon. I got lucky in that I fell into the right place at the right time and got a job. And then I was like, okay, that'll be a good challenge. Like getting back into coaching after so long.
Yeah.
Hard. And at first it was really hard. And I was like, I haven't coached in German, I think, ever, an entire class. And like, it was like, okay, well, no practice classes. Like we're starting right away. And I was like, I didn't sleep the night before, and like, it was fine. And I didn't do a great job, but I did my best. And then it was easier than I thought it would be to like sort out my life here. And in the last weeks, I was like, okay, where's the next hard shit that's gonna fall on my face? Because that's what it's always been. And now the lockdown comes, so like it's what I was maybe, I don't know, subconsciously waiting for or anticipating.
Yeah.
No, it's another little challenge. And like you said, we don't know how long it's gonna last. And if it's 3 months, and whatever happens with travel plans at Christmas, all of these nice, happy ideas that we have, I get to go back to the States and see my family, like, not sure about that. Christmas might be here. It's, the gym is closed, and the gym is kind of my happy place. And I have come to appreciate spending time with people more than I think I ever have. And now that's not a crux anymore. So I think it's a not bad timing for this, and it's an opportunity to practice the mental side and the resilience, and to, like you said, use it as an opportunity to work harder. And for me, I think to find my next challenge.
Yeah, I think so. You to put yourself into this kind of discomforts of doing the uncomfortable stuff makes us grow. So if I have like a to-do list, it is always the most uncomfortable thing on top of the list or somewhere on the list. You just look at the list, and then like the thing that is the most hard, like that's the one you need to do now. And that's usually the one we postpone all the time. And it might not even be like, I have to do my studies, or I have to do my, whatever it might be, like I have to pay my bills. No, it might just be like this very uncomfortable call to your brother, mom, ex-boyfriend, whatever it might be, and just have that conversation with that person. That might be the hardest thing in your life at the moment, and you're totally it's not on the to-do list, right? Because why would that be on the to-do list? But there are these things that we are subconsciously not doing, and I think it's like, just because I took that example, I think social relationships are something that are really, really important to distinguish if we are, if we can move on and stuff like that. So it's very easy to chase ghosts instead of fixing, this classical thing that I thought about like already when I was like 16, is that people that have a lot of problems at home, they want to fix other people's homes instead of fixing their own.
Yeah.
And this is kind of like Jordan Peterson has one of his rules that, that I came across a couple of years ago in his book is like, the thing is you have to clean your own room first, and then you can go and fix the world. And this is kind of it's obviously a metaphor, but there are sometimes things in our own room we're totally neglecting, and we're thinking like, yeah, everything's nice. I have a nice apartment, or have a nice life. I have a nice job, and I love my kids. But somewhere it's always like, comes down to like, yeah, but my relationship with my sisters, yeah, we haven't talked in 10 years. Yeah. And just gets forgotten, and that's usually a big hole that then it makes everything else. It's just, I have everything here, but one of the most important persons in my life that I might not even like, but we have an unsolved problem back there. So those are usually big drivers for people to chase ghosts instead of fixing those things to start with. So what is your next challenge going to be, you think?
Well, first deal with lockdown. See how I think I do really struggle with, if I can't go out and do, like now, having that social anchor every day that's like training plus being with people, that's a big part of my life now. Like that really defines my day, my weeks. So figuring out how, and without work at the Belgium, I think the biggest challenge for me will be spending most of the time by myself again. And I'm lucky that I have a midbewoner here, and we get along really well. But spending a lot of time by myself in the same environment, something I already struggled with before, that I was kind of like, patching through sort of, because I'm going from place to place, I'm moving around throughout the day. But spending like 8-9 hours a day in my kitchen, and then like, okay, so it's shitty weather out. Do I do my snatches with my janky barbell in my bedroom? Or, do I go outside into the rain and do it when the weather hits like that? So those are the two things over the next couple of weeks I'll be focusing on. And I think I miss being like cognitively, intellectually challenged. So I'm about to bite the bullet and buy, have you heard of Red Pill?
No, I'm not sure what that is though.
They're, I think it's James Jousey and I forget the other guy's name, pair of coaches. There's a couple more like sub coaches, but like the two head guys who started Red Pill are out of the UK. They coach Sam Briggs and another female athlete whose name escapes me, and then the other higher level who didn't make it to the games, English athlete he was at a bunch of sanctionals recently, the ones that happened before the first lockdown. They've got a really good podcast, really nice, like super nerdy, on Spotify, and they just a couple months ago launched like a generic training program, because before they'd been doing individual programs, and I've kind of like delved into their podcast, samples of their programming, and now they're just launching like an education bundle.
Okay.
It's like, I don't know, it's $100 or $120 for 5 mini courses on things to do with training, energy systems, musculoskeletal system, that kind of thing. and that'll be my educational and sort of taste of what I think maybe my next degree. We'll see, because I think as we'll see what the education system here looks like next academic year, doing a sports science degree or a kinesiology degree, something in that direction is, I think, in my future.
Yeah.
So
So what is your dream job or dream occupation? It might not be a job even. Like where are you?
a good question. It's also funny because it's like when people ask me, okay, so where are you from? Blah, blah, blah. So now I'm Munich. Yeah, okay. And then I'm like, well, fuck, I don't have a next move planned. And like, I've always had a next move planned. And it's a really weird feeling to think,
Yeah.
I can't see myself living here for the rest of my life. It's a really weird thing for me to imagine. And I guess I never thought about it as deeply, but I can only see myself like ever really moving around. But as for work, I don't know. Directionally, what Andy Galpin does, I think is kind of spot on in terms of, Andy Galpin, no? Yes.
Yeah. Dr. Galpin.
We had the most recent podcast with him and Lane Norton.
I haven't listened to it, no.
Good. It's also very entertaining, but it's good. Because he does the sciencey side, the nerdy side, the very intellectual, the very like deep thinking, like.
Yeah, he runs a lab right in Los Angeles or so, where he does a lot of like muscle fiber testing and stuff like that.
So I think that like the science direction is cool.
Yeah.
I don't want to spend my entire life in a lab or doing that kind of shit. But something in the like sciencey direction, plus the fact that he's got that route, he's teaching, he's taking what he's finding out and learning and discovering, and then teaching other people, which I think is the best way to learn yourself and try to understand yourself, what's going on. So he's also like, all of his free YouTube videos are really such a charitable thing that he's doing, like it's making the world, I think, a better place in the 1% that he's contributing. And then the other side, that he's working and coaching in person. Well, before Corona, I don't know exactly what he's doing now, but that he's coaching a handful of individual athletes.
Yeah.
That he's got those three kind of branches. It's really attractive.
Yeah, he comes from this same gang as Barbell Shrugged guys, right? So, like, I don't know by coincidence or whatever, but yeah, they all kind of tangle up during the way, and then so on. He wrote a book together with Brian McKenzie also.
Yeah, Unplugged, no?
Yeah, and I recall when he talked about that book, and he was yeah, he was not so convinced about like CrossFitters being so good at finding ways of enhancing training or whatever. And Brian McKenzie was kind of the guy who I don't know, surprised him in one way that, well, he's really into something here and so on. Yeah. But yeah, they're all kind of interconnected there, I guess, like these guys in West Coast and so on. I'm not really sure where the Barbell Shrugs guys come from, but it sounds more like Midwest or something like that. But
I want to say Andy Galvin and Doug Larson, and then the third guy who's not with Barbell Shrugged anymore. What's his name?
Mike Bledsoe.
Yeah, they all studied together. No,
Yeah.
And then somewhere along the way, Anders Warner came into play when Bledsoe left, and then Galvin didn't go down the Barbell Shrugged. Yeah, I think it's funny that it's also interconnected.
Yeah. Well, that's how it is. All right, Claire, where shall we put the flag for this one?
Until next time. We'll post Corona update maybe. What are your training plans during? Are you guys doing like any challenges? I know you're going back to the individual programming now that you were doing before.
Yes, so we are probably going to have about 100 people doing one-on-one training like last time. So that's going to be really cool again, like, because everyone that is participating in that, they will have like a lot of personal gains. But it's still a challenge for us to keep everyone motivated and so on. But we're gonna have a challenge to this, like a lockdown challenge too. So everyone that is participating, like in the online training, they will also have. We're gonna do some metrics. We're gonna have some leaderboards. See how, I don't know, maybe we kind of create our own mini open kind of thing.
I was gonna say, someone that I know, I don't know if you know Adam French at all from the CrossFit, he owns Wade, which is like a supplement company. He's kind of in the UK, kind of pretty well known. He did they called it like I think they called it the Home Alone Open last lockdown, which was fun. It was it was good.
Yeah, the last lockdown there were a couple of those, for sure. Like, yeah, from most of the big competitions for sure. But yeah, so we'll be busy for sure with all of that, and otherwise, I mean, now it's just trying to be working harder, as I said, developing new stuff. What's the next thing? Like, what's the plan for next year? What's the plan for the next couple of years? So building on that, not only being like in this, just looking at your feet, but actually also looking at the horizon. So that's what we are also up to, for sure. And I mean, it's going to be a mess with this Corona stuff the next years to come. So, but it's going to also leave a lot of opportunities. So, first opportunity was I got 4 new assault bikes today. So.
I mean, at the moment, that's my favorite piece of conditioning equipment. I love the assault bike.
Yeah. So we have like our members, they can pick up equipment.
Oh, nice.
Dumbbells and kettlebells for free, and they can rent like the bigger ones, like rowers and bikes, or the rowers and so on. But we said we pay you if you take the bikes.
Yeah. If you can ship a bike over here, I'll take it.
Yeah. Anyone who wants to have the bike. Yeah. Yeah.
Nice.
If you want to flex that on you. No. So we'll see how it moves on. I hope you find a lot of good things out of this, and yeah, maybe start the red pill.
I'm excited.
Yeah, find a direction there.
Yeah. I wish you good luck. I mean, as someone who's also coaching other people, I'm most concerned about your sleep in the next weeks whenever the birth comes. So
that's not the problem when they're that small. This is the big advantage of being a male in reproduction insight. No, so babies are the first months at least very attached to the mother. So we dads are usually more like, I'm here, but yeah, no titties here. So
already, I hope that Yulia.
Yeah, it's going to be fine. It is always like it is. This is kind of our new stress, of course, but that's how you grow. You learn how to master that. I've already learned how to cope with 4 hours of sleep and 18 hours of work. That's no problem. You just eat shit and go on. Yeah, no, and enjoy it. Like that's the thing. Like this is a good thing. This is life. Like it's boring if you're just not, if you're not pushed around a bit, So
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you guys for the shirt.
Yeah, hope it fits.
No, it's perfect. It's great. It works.